You think you know how the world is run, don't you? You watch your news, you cast your vote, you follow the so-called leaders. You've been sold a story, a nice, comforting lie. And today, we're going to burn that lie to the ground. So let's drop all illusions right now. Just throw them away, forget every civics lesson you ever had, forget the grand speeches, the flags, the patriotic songs. We're going to look at power, raw, naked power, for what it really is. Go on, take a look at this. Over on the left, that's the grand theater. The puppets on the stage, presidents, parliaments, your precious votes. It's all a show, a magnificent performance designed to keep you occupied. Now, look to the right. That is where the real power lives. In the quiet boardrooms, the dark corners of intelligence agencies, the old family dynasties. They don't ask for your vote. They don't need to. They just decide. And who are they? Well, you're looking at their number, 0.01%. Think about that for a second. Not 1%, 1/100th of 1%. That is the tiny, tiny club that actually understands this game of global control. The rest of us, we're not even players. We're just the pieces on their board. So how do they do it? How does such a small group keep a grip on the entire planet? It's not magic. It's mechanics. 5 levers. 5 simple, brutal levers of global dominion. Money, energy, media, military force, and intelligence. We're going to break down every single one. All right, let's start at the foundation. The first and maybe the most important lever, money. And I'm not talking about the cash in your wallet. No. I'm talking about the control of capital itself. The godlike power to decide who thrives and who fails on a global scale. This is what it really means. It's the power to say you get a loan, you build your country, or you default, you go bankrupt, and you remain our servant. You see these big, respectable names, the IMF, the World Bank? Don't think of them as aid organizations. They're enforcers. They're the global loan sharks, making damn sure every country stays dependent on their system. And who are the key players in this game? Well, here they are. Wall Street, the City of London, these are the nerve centers. You have the central banks operating in the shadows, accountable to no one, and of course the big international enforcers we just mentioned. They control the spigot, and when you control the spigot, you control everything that needs water to live. But, controlling the abstract flow of money, that's only half the battle. You have to control the real world, the physical stuff that makes everything run. And that brings us to lever number 2, energy, the very fuel of our nations. It's simple, really. If you control the oil, the gas, the minerals, you get to dictate the political agenda of entire continents. You think it's just luck which countries have that resource wealth? No, that wealth is a weapon. It's leverage. If your country doesn't have its own energy, let me tell you, it's not truly free. It's on a leash. So we've covered money and we've covered resources. But now we get to the most subtle, the most insidious lever of them all, media. Because this one isn't about controlling what people do, it's about controlling what they think. Think about it. A tiny number of massive corporations decide what story you hear every single day. They decide who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, which stories get blasted from every screen, and which ones get buried forever. They don't just report on reality, they frame it, they build it. They're manufacturing your consent, and you don't even see the factory. Okay, but what happens when someone doesn't play along? When some leader, some country, refuses to be bought off, refuses to bow to financial pressure, and sees through the media narrative? Well, that's when the pleasantries end. That's when the velvet glove comes off and you see the iron fist underneath. We're talking about the final tools, coercion, the levers of force and secrecy. And these two, they're two sides of the same ugly coin. On one side, you've got the big, loud, obvious power, the military-industrial machine. Wars for profit, wars for dominance, keeping nations dependent through weapons deals. It's brute force. But on the other side, you have the quiet power, the whisper network, intelligence, covert ops, geopolitics done in the dark, with secret agreements and silent coups. One is a hammer, the other is a scalpel. Both are used to enforce the will of the few. Now these 5 levers, they don't just exist on their own. They're locked into place. They're protected by an entire unseen network, a global structure designed to make sure nothing ever really changes. It's a self-reinforcing machine. You see the public face of it in these so-called strategic alliances. NATO, the G7, AUKUS, whatever the acronym of the day is. Their job is to enforce the global rules and punish anyone who steps out of line. But behind that, behind all the treaties and summits, is the real glue: legacy, power, old money, generational control of the banks, the media, the corporations. These families, they don't get voted in or out. Their power is passed down. It is permanent. And that's the hard truth of it all. The politicians you see on your screen, they come and they go. They are temporary managers, hired help. They might get to rearrange the furniture a bit, but they can never, ever touch the foundations of the house. Because real power remains. So the next time you watch the news, the next time you see some big election or a protest or a grand summit, just remember what you've heard today. Remember the levers. Because all of that, everything else, is theater. So I'll leave you with this one question. Now that you've seen the levers, now that you know how the machine works, who do you think is really pulling the strings? Don't look at the stage anymore. Look behind the curtain. Look for the hands moving the puppets. That's where you might just find the truth.